Ben, let's segue into this. What is your favorite run and why?
So this is one of my favorite runs, but I
Okay,
did
one of.
select something out as well.
Oh, great.
Just because I talk about, I was on Hydro Collectibles last week talking about X-Men and talked about this a lot. Wolverine the X-Men from Jason Aaron. It's set in the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. So the school's been like rebuilt and it's been named after Jean Grey instead of Xavier and stuff. Wolverine's the headmaster. And a lot of the core X-Men are kind of teachers, really. You then have a whole bunch of new characters, and it really takes you back to kind of the early years of X-Men and why I loved a lot of the characters and a lot of those flashback scenes where, you know, these are kids stumbling through the process of getting their power and the processes of life as well. So I just really loved that run, and it had a lot of artwork from Chris Picallo, who's one of my favorite artists. And it ran alongside, there was a really cool kind of stuff going on in the other side of the X-Men camp. So the X-Men were a bit split at this point. Because it was after Avengers versus X-Men, and Wolverine and Cyclops had a bit of a tiff again.
Classic.
And Cyclops has kind of got this like new attitude, and it's like a kind of revolution era, you know, where he's not taking nonsense anymore, and they recruit some new mutants and things. And again, those new mutants, it's the same sort of thing, you know, they're kids who are stumbling through their powers. And I love kind of the more rubbish the mutant, the better for me. So there's like a character called Eye-Boy in Wolverine the X-Men.
Yeah.
I love him, and he's rubbish at the beginning. Anyway,
what does he do?
Well, he's got eyes everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay.
So they're like all on his face and that. So he's monstrous looking, you know. Well, he kind of looks like a kid from Hanson, but with eyes all over his face. But he's such a great character, and it kind of slowly revealed, you know, what his actual powers are and things. There's a character called Golden Balls on that Cyclops team.
Yeah, was it Jasper Carrot? Yeah.
And he's brilliant as well. And you have these moments that are like X-Men loves a bit of time travel and stuff. So you have like future versions, and Deadpool's kind of like, oh, Golden Balls, you're like a legend, man. And there's also a kind of flash forward scene where Eye-Boy is kind of like in like a almost like a shuttle above Earth, and he's basically watching the whole of Earth, and he's like serving as Earth's protectors. Is so cool. Both of those runs, that era for X-Men following Avengers versus X-Men, is a particular favourite of mine. But I spoke about that a lot in just on other channels and stuff. So I wanted to give a shout out to the War of Kings run on Guardians of the Galaxy. So this it's not a particularly special issue. It's issue 15. I'd love number 1, but it's a bit out of my price range at the moment. But I bought 15 because it features one Rocket Raccoon, who is a fellow gobshite like myself. So I feel an affinity with him.
Very relatable.
Cosmo is one of my favourite underrated characters.
Why is that?
I just love the idea that there's this Russian dog out in space who's like developed, so he's telepathic, so he can like communicate, and he's just like a great leader. He's like this like really like sharp talking great leader, and him and Rocket have always bicker and stuff, and but that series, so that came out before the Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Right, okay.
And that was basically Marvel revamping the Guardians of the Galaxy, because the original Guardians look very different to the Guardians that you will know of Groot and Star-Lord and Gamora and stuff. So that was the first kind of key story where we had that team of like Drax and Rocket and Star-Lord and Gamora and so on. So it's just a really, like, if you want to kind of get into introduce yourself into the kind of space cosmic side of Marvel, that's a really good starting point, I think.
Wow. Okay. How long is that run?
Probably about 20 odd issues, I think, for Guardians. Nice. Yeah, it went on quite a while, and it crosses over with things like Nova and stuff as well. So, but yes, highly recommended.
Great. So was Cosmo like part of the Guardians then at that point, or?
No, so Cosmo, he runs. He's like the leader, if you will, of Nowhere.
Okay.
And Nowhere is it's in the first film, so it's that forgot the
giant
name
skull, wasn't it? It's like
yeah, so it's one of the eternal, beings.
Celestials.
Celestial. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to. I couldn't find the word. So yeah, it's a celestial head that is now like a station and a home for people and stuff. Yeah. And yeah, Cosmo basically runs that.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's awesome, and he's a good boy.
He's a good boy, good boy. But how does a Russian dog sent out into space get telekinesis, telekinetic, telepathy? What does he have? One of the
I'm trying to remember the origin. We don't see the origin in that series. As far as I know, he was sent out obviously by the Russians, and I don't know whether he got given it or he like developed it somehow.
Yeah,
and he's just one of these characters that I've just kind of like just grown to love, and it's almost like I kind of don't need to know his backstory like fully, because I just kind of love him for all his kind of ridiculousness. It's kind of like I'm a big fan of obscure characters, and like Z-list characters.
I was going to suggest that you're like, it sounds like you like, no pun intended here, but you're a fan of the underdogs.
Nice. Yes, I love an underdog. Again, on Hydra Collectibles a couple of weeks ago, I spoke about my love of Toad in the X-Men.
Yeah.
So he's like the ultimate underdog. There's a character called Forbushman, who started as a kind of gimmick character in like the old Marvel comedy books. So he's basically like a guy who's got like a pan on his head and wears like a onesie. He's rubbish. I love Howard the Duck.
Yes.
I love all these kind of novelty characters. There's a character called Jackson in the Star Wars books, who's like kind of looks like Bucky O'Hare. He's like this big green bunny space man thing. So I love it. And do you want an exclusive?
Yes, of course.
So my channel has obviously gone to sleep currently, and it will probably be asleep till the new year. But in the new year, I am going to bring my channel's going to look different, might have a different name.
Okay.
It will still be as rubbish. No. But it's going to have I'm going to have a feature which is basically the ABCs of obscure comic book characters. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I look forward to educating you.
Yes, I was just about to say, like, you should like look into writing some sort of encyclopedia for weird and wonky characters. But it sounds like you've already got that idea, and I'm in.
Have you got Disney Plus?
Yes. Are you going to be on Disney Plus?
Yes, absolutely. Mate, if I was on Disney Plus, I wouldn't come on here.
Whoa.
Sorry.
That's okay.
My brutal side coming out. Disney Plus have a series called 616 at the moment, and it explores various areas of Marvel and what Marvel are doing. And one of them is like it's almost like a jokey episode in between it all, but Paul Scheer, who's a comedian, explores, he basically randomly picks an obscure Marvel thing and pitches it as, why can't this be a series and things like that.
Okay.
And it's a series called Brute Force, which is it's an eco like superhero group. comprised of animatronic animals, so animals that have like been fused with robotics, and they basically fight for like planet Earth and animal rights. And it has like a dolphin who has legs and shoots, and it's a doctor, and there's like a bear that rides this thing. It's so bad. So yes, check that out. Brute Force.
Great. I mean,
It's terrible.
are you going to be talking about that on your channel? That's going to be.
I think it's a contender for B, but then I've got another character that I really want to do for B, so I'm not going to give anything away. But...
So you're literally going to go through the ABCs?
Yep.
That is cool. You know, you never know if it's popular. You could just start again when you hit Z.
This is true, yeah. I mean, I'll always, you know, pick someone and have some honourable mentions, and I'm going to put it out in the comments and stuff for people to suggest. So, yeah, hopefully it'll be fun and interactive, and obviously it'll have my usual sense of humour that's like Marmite, I think.
Any costumes?
It depends. I'll have to see how we get on with the characters.
Yeah.
Just trying to think now. I definitely can't do A.
No.
I can't do B. I don't know. We'll see how we get on.
If one fits, just do it.
The problem with these obscure characters is that they usually are pretty outrageous looking in some way.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, so while we're still on the topic of characters, I mean, you've said loads now, but I don't think you've mentioned a favourite. So who is your favourite character and why? Again,
I'm not going to say my actual favourite character just because it's like common knowledge for any
Ben Crampton too much screen time
acquaintances. I feel like there's nothing more I can say about my love for Colossus. So I love Colossus, Pietro Rasputin of the X-Men. Love him. I think the X-Men as a whole are I'd probably say, as I said earlier, Spider-Man and X-Men are kind of like, I can't even, it's like picking a baby. I mean, I've only got one baby at the moment, and I've picked Spider-Man and X-Men over them.
Is your child called Spider-Man?
I tried.
Middle name?
I've got Jean as a middle name, which my wife's happy because it's both of her nan's name, but I'm like, well, no, it's obviously Jean Grey, isn't it?
Jean Grey,
yeah. So I'm not going to say Colossus. I'm going to say a character that is more recently kind of, gone into my top characters. And that is Quentin Quire, aka Kid Omega.
Right.
So just to prove my love for him, this was one of the first tattoos I got a while back. And this is the Kid Omega logo that he actually originally forces. He starts like a cult within the X-Men. Okay. And everyone kind of gets a tattoo. And then what I've done is I put the flames behind, because the future version of Quentin Quire, he actually inherits the Phoenix. Ooh. So the Omega is that he's an Omega level mutant, which means he's like one of the best of the best, in top terms of power.
Yeah.
So Quentin Quire is can I swear? I might have already.
A little bit.
He's a little shit. He's the best little shit around. And so he started in New X-Men. I've got his first appearance here, New X-Men 134, which was the incredible Grant Morrison run. I'm not overly keen on the artwork, but I love this cover. But
great writer.
Yeah. I mean, it's quintessential stuff for X-Men fans, and that's where he debuted, and he was really. So imagine like a young, angrier Magneto, but within the X-Men school. He didn't agree with Xavier and his methods and the X-Men's methods. He was an anarchist from within, and it gets to the point where he's actually serves as a terrorist. He has like a terrorist plot with politicians, and it causes a rift in the X-Men, which is the storyline Schism. So X-Men Schism was kind of a big turning point for his character. Anyway, after all that, they did a thing where they basically integrated him into Wolverine and the X-Men as a student of the school. And he became really a key member of that book. So that was the book I was talking about earlier, one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
And he's a rebel. He's a little punk, you know. He doesn't wear his uniform correctly. He has a trend where his t-shirts will always have like a jokey slogan on. So he'll have like a Magneto was right t-shirt on and just walking around with cool.
Yeah.
Or I'm just trying to think of some other ones. I mean, there's loads. What's the one he's got on here? Bucky 2D. Bucky 2.0. So yeah, sorry, I've got this variant here, which has him.
That's nice.
And yeah, he's got Bucky 2.0 on that t-shirt there. But I just love the aesthetic. I love, like, I've said this before and it got me in trouble, but I like the aesthetic of like a punky young teenage skinny kid. You know, he's got his mohawk. And it's kind of like, I feel like it's the internal me. Like, I'd love to look like that, but I'm never actually going to be able to. And now, dressed like a dad, I wear beach trousers. It's rubbish. But inside, I feel like I've got this like punk who's, you know, and piercings and things. So he just looks fantastic. His attitude he's so witty and sharp, and he's just shutting everyone down. And you know, anytime there's a potential corny exchange, he will chip in and you know, give his 2 cents. And he's great. And this particular book is amazing. It's part of the A+X series, which I think came after AVX. Right. So, you know, things were sorted out and they were like partnering up. And it's brilliant because these two couldn't be more opposite, Captain America and Kid Omega. And, you know, the back and forths and everything are just amazing. I just love him. I just love that character. And he's over time become a reluctant hero. So he started off as a kind of, you know, cult leader, terrorist, prisoner, really. He was a prisoner of the X-Men. He was reluctantly there. You know, Wolverine was basically like, I'll chop your head off if you try and leave. And over time, you know, he's kind of had these mini heroic moments when he didn't really want to, you know, and it's just been really fun to be part of from the beginning. I feel like I was there from the beginning. Whereas with Colossus, you know, he's a character that debuted in Giant Size X-Men, and I was not there from the beginning. I've gone back and, you know, read that run. West Coast Avengers, so he joined the West Coast Avengers as well, which is a great team comprised of Hawkeye, well, both Hawkeyes, and Gwenpool and Miss Chavez America there. So he's now on Krakoa, which is the mutant island that they're all kind of living on at the moment. Yeah. And he dies basically every comic, because at the moment mutants can die but be brought back. So they kind of done a thing where he dies every issue. It's a shame because I think it kind of cheapens him a bit, because he's actually also, so his psychic abilities are bar none, and he can create telepathic like guns and things. So you know, like in that, he's got like a telepathic gun, and even like a telepathic kind of hat helmet there. Right. So he can create items, kind of like Green Lantern, but like psychic abilities. It's just awesome. I mean, and him and Wolverine have such a great relationship as well. It's almost like Beauty and the Beast, you know, that kind of what do you call it? Is it Stockholm
syndrome? Where you kind of fall in love with your captor.
Yeah. So he didn't fall in love with Wolverine, but it's a similar thing that's played out over the years where, they've kind of learned about each other, and it's they've had capers, just the two of them. There was a whole thing where Kid Omega kind of basically made a whole storyline up in his head, and Wolverine had to kind of fight his way out of the psychic, story.
Okay.
So yeah, I Quentin Quire is my answer. Final answer. Lock
it in. It's correct. That's cool though. Like, he sounds like a very I don't know if you know the word chopsy. I think it's a Welsh thing. Like, I spoke to Phil from Comics Gaming Figures about this the other day. He said a word which I didn't understand what it meant, and it's from Northern Ireland. And I said,
I don't understand any of the words he says.
I was like, "Do you mean chopsy?" And he was like, "What does that mean?" And then I went, "What about gobby?
Gobby.
Just yeah, like chopsy."
Yeah.
Yeah, big gobby. Yeah, that's I've never heard of Kid Omega or read anything he's been in, but that's what he sounds like to me.
Yes, get on it. He's great. He's if you like the Rebel, you'll like him. A character that's recently come up in Batman as well is this Clown Hunter character.
Yes, I've heard of him.
And again, very similar aesthetic. Like young teenage kid, but he's not afraid of anything. Big mohawk. It's very punky and stuff. And I'm sort of falling in love with him to the same effect. So I've just got a thing for that kind of punky, and I don't know whether that's because back in the day I was like a Green Day fan and a My Chemical Romance fan and things like that. So it's my kind of grungy side coming out. I don't know. But.
So I think based off everyone you've spoken about, you like punky anarchist types, Russian characters, Colossus and Cosmo, and underdog characters. So if you could have some sort of punky Russian underdog, that would be like your ideal character by the sounds of it.
Well, punky and Russian is Colossus's sister, Magic.
Ooh, okay.
She's punky and Russian. So
underdog?
She ticks a lot of boxes for me. She's not really an underdog. No.
Shame.
Super powerful and will kick anyone's ass. But yeah, that's funny that. I don't know why I have a penchant for the Russian punk. This has taught me something.
Well, this is why we're here. You're telling me I'm learning about you, but you're learning about yourself as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Great, man.
So weird.